There you go. Using my hot.
Welcome.
Welcome. It works. Yeah. Totally live. We were able to.
So hey guys, we're here at Ball State Community College being hosted, and the Alejandro method is going live tonight. And so we are going to hope that you enjoy class. We're going to learn some Spanish, learn about the new method. And Alex is here from Mexico City in Gallatin, Tennessee tonight to make sure that he can tell you all the good things, get you to interact with us. And so if you are not able to join us the entire time on YouTube, make sure that you also hit us up on Facebook Live on the Alejandro Method on Facebook. And make sure to like the page and comment. And we will, if you want to leave your email address, we'll also follow up with email after this event if you're interested in anything else he talks about tonight.
Also, we'll be taking care of questions that come from the YouTube live stream at the end. So then we can just pile them up and start answering any questions, and any questions that, there will be some questions live. So we'll just be pausing here and there to make sure that everybody is listening to it. Okay, and let me just
and so give us a few minutes. We're going to get connected. We've got a live audience here as well, and we're going to connect Facebook Live and then get started. So are you going to use your phone, or are you going to try to do it online?
I cannot use mine because it's using the hotspot.
Okay, so you'll have to log in for the information on the Alejandro method.
You are, yes, so you should be able to just get it started. So is the sound okay? Can anybody just let us know on Facebook broadcast if sound is okay? Testing the microphone.
Yes, and or you can just set it up for Facebook Live. So on the page, I think. I can also do it from my page.
So if you're just in a couple of minutes, we actually have slightly late because the building was closed. And then we didn't know that it got open electronically. So we were just waiting for the campus police. They're like, hey, there should be open. And we're like, oh, of course we knew that. We were just.
I heard a bit in the morning, and I will probably have to do the same.
Yeah, it's worth testing beforehand. And sometimes the network won't let you like this. For some reason, the YouTube broadcast is not allowing us to do that. So, anyways, thank you a million times for being here. How many is for Good. It's going to let us do it. Computer.
They got a little bit of sweet, but they also got a little bit of heat to it. Yeah. It's really good.
Could you just the lights, and could you just send them the YouTube link, make sure that people.
I'll do it earlier.
Yeah. And we'll still try to set that up. Anyways, can you still see me? Okay, so muchas gracias. I don't know if you speak Spanish or not. Most of these will be in Spanish, so that should be a lot of fun. And what can I say? I'm super honored to be here at Ball State, to be streaming. The reception at Ball State has been quite, to be quite honest, unexpectedly warm. And well, the idea today is to prove that Spanish is bueno for you. And basically, what should happen today, like, the reason why I came all the way here from Mexico and what should happen after this hour and a half that we're going to be together is that you should be convinced of the fact that every single person in this world is a natural learner. Okay, I think there's a conception out there, and some people feel, let me stress in the world, feel that they are not, but there are people who are amazing language learners and they're not. One of them being my dad, for instance. He literally thinks he stinks at learning languages. And the second thing that should happen today is you should have a clear idea on how to begin the path to a natural learner transformation. And in the case of you who have been, it's great that we have, I believe that most of you are educators, is that correct? And you should have a lot more tools to help your students become natural learners, which you probably already are. That's basically what the expectation for today, and we're going to check back on that as we progress. Okay, so what we're going to be seeing today, we're going to be focusing on 4 items. Hold on, I think yes. Let me just take it out. Just making sure. Okay. Cool. So we're just going to have 4 components today. We're going to be going over. And the first component is going to be understanding you or understanding you. Okay. That's the first component we're going to be focusing today. Then we're going to talk about tactics. Okay, in terms of how to realize that how Spanish is bueno for you. Then we're going to show you the system as an overall, the method as an overall system of learning. And finally, after that, we're just going to make sure that we all stay in touch and we understand what the next steps are as part of the system. And by the way, I'm going to be making quick pauses, but generally speaking, I invite people to intervene / interrupt. So if you feel that there's something interesting at some point, do not hold back. Okay? Okay, so let's begin by this. In the mandatory review, so basically this means understanding you. If you speak already Spanish, that's super easy, but I'm just going to make sure that we're constantly jumping back and forth. That's the point of Spanish. And if you do speak Spanish, you know that this is not, the syntax in that, the grammar in that is not correct. And that is intentional, because we're basically trying to stress the point on you, on the person, and I'm going to mention this later on the hero. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, oh, that's really funny. Look at this. So I'm looking at this on the screen, and this should be here. The connection literally just, okay, that's really fine. Okay. Never happened to me before. No, it didn't happen yesterday either. Okay, so we know, we as educators, you have a lot more context on this, but mostly our education systems these days, our education methods and approach come from the era of mass production, where it was basically, hey, we need a lot of qualified people, and we're going to use one method, and we're just going to basically produce a lot of nurses, engineers, and lawyers, and doctors, and blah, 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 you name it. And of course, I mean, I'm not against the principle and the thought of, hey, we have one machine, let's produce as many as we can because that's going to give us as much profit as we can. Also, it's going to speed everything up so we can basically meet demand, and I'm going to use a different word here. We're going to create more demand because that's pretty much what's happening these days. Demand is not being met, it's actually being created, right? But unfortunately, and I'm pretty sure you're no strangers to this, that approach is not really working. And let me elaborate on what I mean by this. I don't know if this happened to you, but I went to college, I actually went to university. It was 4 years, and basically by the end of the 4 years, I started working on things that were not related to my my university degree, by the way. But anyways, when I did work on things that were related to my university, I realized that most of the stuff that was taught to me didn't really apply in the real world. Okay, and now let me transfer that to Español. We have people learning Español in high school, we have people learning English, English learners in schools, in high schools, in ESL settings. And unfortunately, we have people getting fantastic TOEFL scores, and then they come to the US and they're like, sorry, what? I did not understand what you said. It just happened to me. I just took the IELTS test because I'm doing some things. And yeah, I know, that's going to spark a conversation. And it's really funny because I went through the reading section. And, my wife was there with me taking the tests. And I was just reading this, and I was like, wait, this is more like a GMAT question, where it seems like they're asking me to solve a problem instead of really trying to test my reading skills. You know what I mean? And I think it's natural that you take these tests, and when you're taking the tests, when you're preparing for the test, you're focusing, as a student, you're focusing on passing the test, which is very different. Very different from, I want to communicate in English. I want to thrive in an academic environment, or I just want to thrive in a business environment. They're very different things. So I don't know if this happens to you, but in Mexico, this happens a lot. That, the system is predominantly, hey, you have a test tomorrow, you burn your brains and your readiness, you kind of withhold things, it just feels like it's a dam, and it's about to break. You go to the test, you feel this tension, and you're like, what is it? You just pour everything in. You woke up the morning and you're like, what was the test? I'm like, what? What? I don't know. What? Test? What? I'm sorry. I don't even know how I got here. Right? Okay, so now that we've done a little bit of context on that, so that's one of the first thing that we want to solve through the Alejandro method. We know that one method for all, or one static, unified, standard method for all does not work. And the reason behind that is we're 7 billion people in this planet. And we're not identical to a single one another being in this planet. And how come we're learning with a standard method? Unfortunately, the result of that is desertion, frustration, basically people wasting time. Now let's talk a little bit about the Español or English learning settings. In Mexico, most Latin America, and most of the other countries that we've been honored to visit, we have classes, and basically if you want to learn, you call up, and it's like, yeah, we have Monday through Friday classes, we have Saturday classes, you sign up, you pay, you show up. The good schools will probably test you to see what's your level. I have a Spanish, not very polite word for that. I call it the meado level, which is basically like a urinated level. Which, not again entirely, but basically, and then you just start. And let me tell you a story about a guy who started teaching when he was 16. He started teaching English. Nobody would give him a job teaching English because honestly, who would let a 16-year-old teach other people? Right? Who in the right mind? Luckily, this guy was a friend of my mom. Oh my God, so the guy's me. So I was 16, and they trained me for a week. And they had this really fat book, like the yellow pages. Really nice, cover, really nice paper, nice prints. And I remember sitting down in 7 in the morning classes in corporations. And I remember just sitting there. I was super sleepy, right? 7 in the morning. And then I would have people who were parents. They woke up, blah, blah, blah. They did a bunch of stuff before they came to me. That's a big effort. 7 in the freaking morning to be there, not smelling like your dad. It's big. So I would just flip open the book, like, whoa! And then they're like, oh, what was your level? Let me check. Okay. Oh, yeah. The module number 3.2 block. Okay, cool. And then I would just start scrolling through the manual, which was not a bad, actually, it was a good manual. It was really well thought. The guy who came up with that manual really put a lot of heart into it. Unfortunately, again, it's so many of us that there's no way that's going to work for everyone. And what happened to me back then is that I taught for a little bit over a year, and I had, a regular set of students. And at the end of that year, I did not see a lot of progress in most of them. And that was actually depressing. And, you as educators, I'm pretty sure can relate to this. And if you are, as students, as learners, if you took Spanish in high school, and I speak, si les hablo ahorita en español mexicano desde dentro, and you don't capture what I'm saying, you're going to feel really angry, frustrated, mad, a number of things. So, the Alejandro method, the first thing that it does is let's understand who you are. And let's understand how you work. Of course, that's a big universe, so we basically try to simplify it. And this is an example of how we begin. So instead of saying, hey, let's just grab this book and just slam it in other people's faces, hey, actually, I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is the IB methodology learner's profile mosaic. Have you seen this before? I think it's really interesting. I don't know if you have the chance to read any of this. I don't know if you can actually relate to any of this, or some we having fires. Basically the typical student who's like, stop asking questions. And you're like, oh, I was not prepared for that. You're like, okay, next one, right? Then we have thinkers. Do you relate to, like yourselves? Do you feel that you can relate to any of this? Have you classified yourselves in terms of this? We have open-minded people, communicators, principled, caring, balanced. Can you relate to any of those? Does any of those ring a bell? Like, oh, I think I could be, which one did you feel closest to? Your name again?
Oh, Amy.
Amy. So which one does any of this you feel like, oh, that's really me? Or like, are you in an area? Anybody?
Yeah, all of them, but I would say everybody, thinkers.
Okay. So basically, this tells us a lot of different things about different people. And this, I think, is a great start. If we really want to help people learn and feel, and again, I'm stressing the word feel, that when they go and learn, they come out of that door and they're like, wow, I really learned something. Which is basically the main goal. Whenever you're learning something, you really want to walk out and say, I know something I didn't know 2 hours ago, 1 hour ago, 30 minutes ago. Okay? So, and we're going to get back to, if you have any questions on this, we're actually using this, and also we're using the PRC personality test. In addition to that as well, we are using the learners, okay, I don't know what that is. No, I don't know that. And the other thing that we're using as well is the learning style test. There's a quiz. I will actually share all of this with you after this is done. I'll share the links and a lot of the research behind it. Okay. Now, once we understand how we learn, a little bit of who we are, because when I say a little bit, the path to understanding who we are is pretty much as long as life. We literally don't stop figuring out who we are until we die, right? But this will help. Now, after we say, hey, I am a kinesthetic learner, because I really, really need to feel something. Have you ever had a student who's just clicking on the pen constantly? And you're like, oh, well, that's a perfect example of a kinesthetic learner who engages his brain, her brain, by touching something or feeling something, right? I don't know if this happens to you, but it's a very pleasant experience. Okay, so then we move on to the second component of understanding you, which is motivation. Okay, again, we're still Spanishizing everything, and we're going to understand why we're doing this. Because without this, there's absolutely nothing. Think about it for a minute. There would be no Taj Mahal if there wasn't motivation. I'm pretty sure the Chrysler building was a piecing contest. Actually, it was. I think there is a documentary out there that explains how it was like, no, I'm going to build this. And actually, I think the architects who were building it kind of felt, they didn't say that they were going to put a tower, a communications tower, and that's what actually got them to the top. This kind of thing. So without this, there's nothing. However, these methods completely ignore the motivation. You're just like, you're here, shut up, learn. Okay? Luckily, there are a lot of rogue educators who are actually going beyond that, but we all know that that can get you in trouble sometimes. Now, but when you say motivation, if you right now go to Google and you Google motivation, you're going to find 1,000,000 books. Among them, you're going to find, yes, and again, I'm saying this again, I hope you hear me, and I hope you get really clear, Simon Sinek. Okay, I really watched that video, Simon Sinek's video. He got super famous on the internet, and basically it's not companies, the products, it's basically the why that matters. That was basically the gist of his video. I remember watching that movie, I was like flabbergasted, like, oh, he's so right. And then I set off on a journey where I was like, what's my why? And I still haven't figured out my why. He never told me how to get my why, and that's really important. How do you find a motivation that works? So let me elaborate again on this one too. Now, look at people coming to us and saying, hey, yeah, I want to learn Spanish. Oh, that's really good. Why do you want to learn Spanish?
Because I can talk to people in Spanish.
Okay, why? Why would you want to talk to people in Spanish? Why not in Cantonese? Why not in Czech?
There's more Spanish speakers here than people who can't speak Czech.
Okay, so basically there's a need for communication. Okay, let's go back to that. Now, let's talk about, I think, one of the most common reasons why people want to learn a language, at least in Latin America, and I think it's the same thing in Asia. If you ask people, why don't you learn in English? They'll say, because of my job, because of my work. I guarantee 8 out of 10 they will tell you that, okay? And when you really talk to these people, you'll figure out, if you keep asking questions, you're an employer, and you're like, okay, but why your job? You'll figure out that nobody cares about their job. It's not the job, it's, oh, I want a promotion because I want to buy Power Wheels for my children. I want a promotion because I want to take my wife to the Bahamas. Or because I want to buy a better covenant than my neighbor. So so this is a really cool joke that we have in Mexico. And, again, if this was fun, it's going to be a lot more fun. And again, I'm not, just so you know, I'm not Frenchly correct. So I do speak a lot of French, if you know what I mean. So there's this kid, he comes to the house with his dad. Right? And he's like, Daddy, I want to get a And the dad is like, just so you know, if you don't know it, pendejo in Spanish means asshole. Okay? It's just a quick definition. So, and the dad is like, oh my God, no, why? No, why? What did we do wrong? And he starts WhatsApping his wife, like, what did you do? Why does my son want to be a pendejo? He's like, well, so why do you want to be a pendejo? So, well, I just see you walking out of the house every morning and say, oh, there's a pendejo neighbor, he's got a new BMW. There's a pendejo neighbor, he has a really big house. Right? So I want to be a pendejo, right? So back to that, the point of motivation. First thing, motivation is built, motivation is questioned, but most importantly, motivation is not real if it's not emotional. If you don't really feel something like staring here, I get it, yes, we're living in our technology, everything has to be rational and monetized and measurable and KPI, right? But the fact is, we're still humans whether we like it or not. And motivations, if they're not emotional, most probably they will not stick. If people keep thinking it's about my job, but if you help them understand, hey, is it really your job? Or is it feeling really, really good because you got a promotion in record time? And nobody will say it. That's emotional. So it's really important to help learners, to guide them through the process of building a solid motivation. And for that purpose, another one of the tools that we're using, as I mentioned before, is a QC personality test, the personality proposal. You may know, and don't, again, I'll be sharing a lot of the research behind this. I really love this one. My wife actually shared this with me when she studied a master's in image consulting. Fascinating field of study, by the way, if you ever get a chance. So there are 4 main personality types, which is the Guardian, the artisan, rational, and the idealist. And this is fantastic. And each one of those, I think, has like 4 or 8 subtypes. Okay, but the really fascinating thing about that is that this tells us a lot about the person, and this will help us pinpoint / find a motivation that makes sense to a person who is a guardian, and the same thing for an artisan. And you know, the names are kind of self-explanatory. A guardian, okay, which is, by the way, I think it's 92% of the Latin American populations are guardians. And that changes actually a lot. If you go to Europe, the rational population rises up to 30%. In the US, I think the rational population is estimated at 15%. And then we have artisans, but always the guardians are always predominant all over the world. But interesting thing is, if you tell a guardian, hey, let's achieve a massive impact of 3 million people with the Alejandro, they'll be like, okay, cool. I don't care about the 3 million people. But you tell them, hey, let's help 3 million people keep their jobs and have a stable for the Alejandro, they'll be like, oh, wait, am I going to protect people? That makes a lot of sense. And this basically helps guide people. It helps learners really understand, hey, that's a motivation that's really close to me, okay? And that's how we use this tool in addition to other things. So once we have, so we're still in the process of understanding you, the hero, okay? So we understand what our learning style and learning profile is. Then we understand what the motivation is. And then once those 2 pillars are ready, then we move on to lifestyle. So again, going back, you've seen this. This is not new to you. You sign up, you pay, and you go 6 hours, 8 hours. I don't know if this happens here, but in Mexico, there are a lot of schools doing 6 to 8 hours Saturday intensive lessons. Now, neuroscience has proven a person without focus and conscious training can focus for about 15 minutes. A regular person, especially today in an era of instant gratification, the attention span is literally, I think, somewhere between 8 to 12 seconds. Then you take a person and you're like, yeah, I'll give you an intense course, you can run super fast, sit down for 8 hours. I did that, I taught that for years, actually a year and a half. I'm not going to give you the math, but I've been teaching for more than 20 years. I started out when I was 16 and I did that. And the result was horrendous. Because it's a Saturday, nobody wants to do that. But let's say you have a really powerful motivation. You really understand what you want to do, what you want to achieve. It's still 8 hours. My question is always, how much of those 8 hours are effective in your life? At the end of the 8 hours, how much did you really retain so that you can use on Saturday night, on Sunday morning, Monday morning? That's a problem. So, tell me if your life looks anything like that. From the moment you wake up to the moment you just notice that there's no battery at the end of it. Sometimes that happens here too. Or maybe here too. So, the next component in the step of understanding tool is, let's be honest about your lifestyle, about what you have to figure out every single day, the stuff that you plan for and the stuff that you don't plan for, right? There's, okay, for example, I love being there. I have absolutely adored every second from the moment we got pregnant. I have been in love with that job. And the beauty about changing diapers, actually used to call myself the diaper ninja, is that you cannot plan for diaper changes. You know, you're super happy, you're like, oh, I'm ready, I'm going to sleep, So basically, this just goes to show that life is complicated. So cramming 2 hours of learning in this kind of lifestyle doesn't seem very realistic, does it? Because either if it's online or face-to-face, whether you're commuting or not, it's still 2 hours of sitting down and doing something where today that's really hard to achieve, number one. And again, the same question comes up. How much of those 2 hours are you really going to retain? So, the proposal, the solution that we're proposing, that we're integrating into the system is, let's take little chunks of time every day. And when I say little chunks of time, it's as simple as chunks of somewhere between 30 seconds to 5 minutes. And I'm actually talking about examples here. Director, Latin America supply chain, really big food company whose name I cannot mention. This person does not have time. Because on top of the position that he has, okay, he has to learn English super fast because he's being moved to the US. From Mexico office to the US. Okay? But he still has to take care of everything he has to take care of in this position. So one of the techniques that we gave him was, hey, go to the bathroom, 3 minutes, 5 minutes before your next meeting, breathe, and go over. Breathe, and go over. And he will do that. Literally, just go to the bathroom and he will actually do this. Okay, stretch, breathe, Google a word, and he will just go back to his meeting. And then he will do that again some other time. 30 seconds, 2 minutes. That made sense for him. And he literally started building his English much faster. He had been studying English for over 2 years. His English was not bad, but it was not where he needed it to be. And then he was able to get his English where he needed it to be in less than 2 months. By chunking approximately 45 minutes of listening. Really effective, super effective focus 45 minutes with tactics that made sense to him according to his profile and to his learning style. Because instead of saying, hey, I got a really good method, it's not, let's figure out what really works for you. Okay? So now once we have these 2 points, then we can say that we have completed the step of understanding. So of course, the details of how to do these 3 components of the first step are much more complex, but I think you get the idea of how we can really show people that every single human being is a natural learner, in this case, natural language Español learner. It's not you, it's the approach. And if we take the right approach, anyone can do it. Now I'm going to make a quick pause here. Do we have any questions or comments? Or should I just keep going? Do we have any dangerous questions or dangerous ideas? Okay.
What's the word for dangerous in Spanish?
Peligrosas.
Peligrosas.
Peligrosas. Like peril. Actually, you'll find that if you know enough, I would say all the English words, you'll actually understand a lot of Spanish words like peril, peligro, peligro. Ideas peligrosas, dangerous ideas, peligrosas ideas. You start playing with this, but we'll get back to that. Now that we understand the first step, which is understanding you, the hero, now we're going to go to the tactics. So we figured out, at least we have a really solid beginning of, hey, let's understand the person that we're working with. Now let's go to how. Remember, so we're a natural learner, but then we really need to understand how to really move towards that transformation, right? And that's where the tactics come in. Okay, so in every single one of the tactics that we'll be presenting to you, we're going to just focus on 2 tactics today. The idea is to introduce the tactic, but not only the tactic, but what's the science backing that tactic up, because there should be something that really tells you this is going to work, but also should tell us, hey, this is going to work for this or that kind of person, right? Now, we have all seen this guy. I'm guessing that, probably the broadcast doesn't show that well. We all know the cat and we want to be alive. The baby cats. Who doesn't love baby cats? There's a documentary on Netflix that says, don't mess with effing cats. Don't effing mess with cats. I don't know if you've seen that. It's really creepy, by the way. Super creepy. So don't recommend it if you have a sensitive heart anyways. So, think of this guy as a brain. Traditional methods, Back to the traditional methods. You take a book, you read something, and you repeat it. Okay? You take a flashcard, you repeat it. Okay, no books, I understand. We're very digital these days. You take a tablet, and you repeat it. You listen to a podcast, and you're like, oh, this is what they're saying. Okay. You repeat, right? There's a little bit of an opportunity there. It's not a problem. The brain needs something to hang on to. If the brain doesn't have something to hang on, then you just let go. And I think there is a beautiful analogy here. The brain is made up of gazillions of neurons, working together, right? So basically it's a network. But then when we teach the brain, we are trying to force the brain to learn in an isolated piece of knowledge. Hey, learn this, learn this, learn this. So, tactic here is, how about we help the brain by engaging the senses? And for this, I'm going to ask you to get up from your chair and come over to the prop section of our workshop. And please help yourself to your favorite thing that is on this side of the table. These are snacks, these are props. Snacks, props. And please help yourselves. We got buns, we got rosemary, we got some sauces, we got Play-Doh, we got actually these cookies are part of the props. Those cookies are snacks. So please help yourselves to whatever feels the most to you. There you go. You can say one. If you actually want to take more than one prop, so you feel free to do that. If you're curious about it, I strongly recommend the buns, but you don't have to. Okay. All right. Okay, so next thing, now that you have a prop, in the case of Play-Doh, so for example, Play-Doh, now you have a cookie, what can you do with a cookie? One of the things I love about my children, when we work with you here, I'll actually take the bread again, because you see the bun, and what you're thinking is that you're right, right? But my children, most children, they're amazing, they make purpose everything. Because they see the bun and they're like, hey, I could eat it, but I could just push it. Have you ever done this? Have you ever done this with bread, purposefully, in your adult life? Well, because there's an amazing thing. Not only that, you do it, it actually releases a state that you will typically get if you just eat it like that. Now you can do the same thing with your Play-Doh, you can do the same thing with a cookie, or you can eat the cookie, or you can actually peel the cookie. Now please use your props in any way you want. You can smell your props. If applicable, you can eat your props. Like my children would actually grab their rice and, it's not good, but they were like, oh, that's weird. And the point here, they.
See, as an adult, we're taught not to smash food.
Exactly. I brought actually a pumpkin, not only just to get this over the broadcast. You can actually throw it in my case. And this is going to tell you a lot. I didn't tell you what to do with your props. But you can do a number of things. The pumpkin, you can see it. Look at the cameras. If you see it, you're visual. But if you're instinctively like, can you feel it? You probably can't see it. Okay? So as you can see what we're doing now. Now, please take your props, go back to your seats, and let's do some things here. Now look at this. What I'm doing is I'm Googling an expression, a phrase. Estoy cansado y chingo. I already knew that you could do that. But all you need to do on a Google browser or the widget on your phone is just say whatever in English in your pop. If you say whatever in Spanish, either Google Translate will show you the translation, or you will find a website with a translation. It's really as simple as that, but it's actually there's more. Now that you've seen this, and you read, oh, estoy cansado. Okay? Could you please say that with me? Okay, let's think about another expression let's say that we want to understand how to say acetilio. Okay? In English? Okay, so Papa, it's cold. You know that it's called, it's acetilio. So the really funny thing is acetilio, but now what's happening is that you have already waken up your brain through a sensory experience. So now you're giving your brain more tools to hang on to acetilio, as opposed to just saying it's clear. So I'm not saying no to the flashcard, but when you do the flashcard, have something that tells your brain, hey dude, look, you can hang on to it. I don't know if you have heard of this, but the brain absolutely loves scents to help memory. Scents are one of the most powerful memory activators that there are, but it's not the only one. That's why I brought a number of experiences. If you didn't, you nobody decided to take this is sriracha sauce. And it's really overpowering. And then you associate this to something. Let me elaborate a little bit more on this. So I brought props right now to you that I literally bought on the Walmart. These are not complicated props. You can get these anywhere and use them. You know, whether you're eating them, whether you're feeling them, whether you're smelling them, or just seeing pretty much any of the senses. You know, if you're hearing something, like for example, let's say, also you see how you can do a number of things with the same thing. Like this one, you can feel, you can see, you can hear it actually if you want to. It's like, right? Okay. Now you're giving your brain more tools. You're giving it more power to remember things. And that basically means that you'll be effectively telling your brain, hey, dude, let's remember this. I'm helping you out, and then you can change it. But it's actually even more fun than that. You don't need, let's say you don't have one of these props. You're driving. You can touch the steering wheel. You can touch the dashboard. You can knock on the door. There's a number of sensory stimuli that you can use that is completely free to help your brain. Hey, let's remember this thing that I just Googled. I can tell you that learning German is one of the most really super random things that I learned in German. Is how sponge for a filter, because I actually have fish at home, and most of the products are German. So I just keep seeing these filter replacements, and it's just shunts. And I have the sponge, I'm changing the water of the fish, which has a very particular smell. Doesn't smell fishy, by the way. If it smells fishy, something's wrong. And then I remember the word. Okay? And then the same thing with activated carbon, right? Same thing. So it's a really, really cool tactic that you can use, and it's completely free, and it's pretty much available everywhere. So basically, use the senses to activate your brain. Okay? That's one of the many tactics that you could use. Yes.
So you're saying when we study, if we just wake up the senses to begin with, then whatever we're learning for the next couple of minutes will be stimulated, or do we need to have different stimuli for each kind of phrase or word that we're trying to use?
I would say it will depend a lot on how you feel and what makes sense to you. And I would also say that it has to be like everything else. This is a really good opportunity to say. The Alejandro method, one of the things that I probably shouldn't say this for marketing purposes, but the Alejandro method is not magical. And just like that, like learning how to stimulate your senses, it's a process. And it's going to take a certain time. It's going to be faster than everything else, but it's still going to take time. So basically is you start stimulating, and there's a curve where you will learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and you will learn how much stimuli you need, how many stimuli you need for one particular block of study, for one particular type of focus. For example, when I'm really, really fun. I tend to be lazy. I'm lazy. Yeah, I've said it. I'm super lazy. And one of the things that happens to me is I sit down in front of the computer, like literally just like we all do. And if I do that, I'm looking at the computer and I'm thinking, maybe I could just open my video games and, instead of doing the presentation, I can play a little StarCraft. Why not? Warcraft, and I don't know, a couple of minutes will not hurt anyone, right? And one of the things that I figured out, one of the stimuli that I need is a little bit of a physical stimulus. And I actually like to work standing. I actually like, for example, one of the reasons why I like Starbucks or similar places is because most of them have a bar, and I can actually work standing. I don't even sit. And then people are crossing by, and I don't pay attention to them, but kind of just keeps my brain going. And it really helps me be less lazy. It's as simple as being less lazy. So, now, so does that answer your question? Cool. So, tactic number 2, Spanglish, and sorry, no, we're not going to be talking about her. Yes, we all love Pathway, actually, it's really hard, and we did a great job. No, we're not going to talk about that. So now we're really going to dig into Spanglish. Okay, Mexico, Latin America again. My close examples is when I was trained, I actually took a TEFL course. I'm a certified TEFL instructor, which I did like a million years ago. But I did. That was actually the first non-native guy to be certified that time. And they taught me to not let your students speak their native language in class. Bad. And I took it on, because we're all very influenceable and one of those influenceable people. And I said, of course. And people would speak Spanish in my class and we're like, no Spanish. I was actually really mean at some point. Well, okay, yeah. You just say whatever you want on social media. And I did that. And then years later, I realized that was a big mistake. Why was it a big mistake? Take a look at the image on the front, the whole time is visible on the broadcast. But we have right there, I'm going to read that for you. It says, nobody, one of the readers Spanish is, nobody apesta para el English. Okay? Now, whether you know Spanish or not, if I do this, you'll probably understand what they're saying. If I just go back for a second, nobody apesta para el English. And then they say, nadie speaks at the English. You will understand the whole thing. Even if you know all the individual words, if you do this and this, you will understand. And why? As I was saying before, we're going to get to the science of it. Let's take a look at another example before we jump to the science. Okay. English, here's the gal, Okay, English that has sentido for you. Okay? English que hace sentido para you. English that has sentido para you. And that, of course, again, it doesn't matter if you know the whole thing, you will understand the whole thing. And before we look at the final examples, let's jump straight into the science. I'll give you a link to that. There's a lot of research about this. But the really funny thing about the brain, and this is a particularly cool talk, but it's a little bit disturbing. What the talk is about, let me just sum it up for you, is your brain hallucinates your memory. And you're like, what? What? So the funny thing is, our visual range does not cover everything we see. There are actually gaps. And the fantastic thing is that the brain, everything that our eyes cannot see, is constructed / for those techies out there, rendered by the brain. The brain basically sees that and is like, oh, I'm missing this piece, but I can figure out the pattern, so it constructs it. And then when you're still stripping with your eyes, it kind of confirms what it constructed before, and then it just moves on. So how does that relate to Spanglish? And how does that really help us be better learners? Well, what we're doing here is basically you tell the brain this is the beginning, you give the brain a clue in the middle, and then you give the clue at the end. The brain will know the won't hallucinate what's in there. Will that be 100% accurate? Sometimes not. Will that be enough to communicate? Most of the times, yes. And what is the other fantastic thing of using Spanglish as a learning tactic? Okay? If you are, so one of the most frustrating things that people experience when they're learning a new language, I don't know if this is probably happened to you, is not understanding. I love that the academic world refers to listening as a listening skill. And basically when they teach us listening, they teach us to understand word, word, word. Okay, one of the, this is really fun. So every single time you're learning English in Latin America, I'm pretty sure that's me in 2 weeks, a couple of friends of mine told me this, you will always hear Susan. Why Susan? I don't know. But there is always a Susan in the recordings. And you will hear Susan goes to the mall. Okay, now, I'm not an English native speaker, but like 90% of my life is in English. And I have never in my life heard anybody say, oh, hey Alex, Susan goes to the mall. Result of that is when I go to the real world, I will never hear a freaking phrase. So people talk completely different ways. And I'm like, what? I don't understand, because listening is not listening. The skill of listening is actually the skill of understanding. And Spanglish helps people understand. And not only that, but it makes people confident. If you're confident, that gives you more motivation to move forward, because you feel the progress. You're not understanding 100%, but it feels darn good to watch Orange is the New Black and get a gist of it. After 2 hours in 1 week, not 6, not 8, 2 hours in 1 week, it feels fantastic when you're in Honduras and somebody's asking you, maybe you can tell us your story.
You want me to tell my story?
Yes, please share it.
Okay, so I went to Honduras last week. I've just been doing this for a couple of months, and I know very little English, a lot of Spanish maybe. But I was in a restaurant and gas station, and a gentleman walked up to me and talked to us so Spanish and asked me where he could order food. And I didn't hesitate, and I just said, aquí. And I pointed to the register. And I didn't realize that I could actually understand someone and then also answer them in just a very short time. So I understand more by listening and comprehending it from the little that I've done, and was able to actually have a communication with somebody, which is not so. That's really cool.
And a little bit of a confession here. I mean, Shannon and I have been working on the Alhambra method. I have to confess that we have not been as consistent as we should be. And regardless of the fact that we have not been consistent, the tools literally became ingrained in her brain, and she just keeps practicing, regardless of whether there is somebody there to tell her what to do or not. And that, I think, is crucial in the learning process. Because dependency with the teacher shouldn't exist. There should be guidance, but not dependency. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, that was a big thing, though, is that we talked about the motivation in the beginning, and my motivation was that I'm not sure to study. I want to be able to speak a little bit of Spanish, maybe order a meal or something like that. And I soon realized that motivation was not good for me. Like, it didn't really matter, because I had to make out, regardless if it was on menu or somebody might be able to help me or something like that. And it really wasn't the emotional thing. We talked about there was an emotional characteristic for it, but when I went to Honduras, it was about providing uniforms for small children that actually had to communicate with them, and they spoke no English at all. And so to try to tell them, here's where you get your shoes or hold your foot up or something like that, the motivation was just so much stronger. And I practiced more and tried to listen more and watch people's mouth as they spoke to me. And it was just a really big difference. So thinking that I wanted to learn to order a meal or being able to provide something for somebody and help them.
Again, emotional, blah, blah, blah. So it's basically taking us back to everything we've been discussing so far. The other beauty that comes with Spanglish, that's why Spanglish is bueno for you, is it helps the brain think in a new language. And a little bit more science. My children, for better or for worse, I'm their dad. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, girls, sorry. That was God's accident, not me. So the funny thing is, I've been speaking to them in French, Spanish, and English, before they were born. The two of them. And they both understand. The youngest one is not 2 years old, but she already answers in English, and she perfectly understands everything in English. And the oldest one, she just did a play in English, and you would be amazed how natural she was. Funny thing about that is that my oldest, she speaks Spanish. And funny thing is, in the past, it used to be believed that it was a problem, a linguistic limitation when children would speak Spanish, it's because basically they would mix languages because it was like, oh, poor thing, it's broken. They need speech therapy. Well, guess what? Science has now taken upon itself to research that. They figured out that is actually a sign of intelligence. Not only intelligence, but actually very specific problem-solving skill. Because children, they don't care if their grammar is correct. They don't care if somebody's saying, oh, no, that's bad. No Spanish. They don't care. So they're thinking, okay, I need to communicate this concept. This particular component of Spanish is really good for this. And this particular component of English is really good for this other thing I want to communicate, and they just speak self-natural. And believe me, she does not mix the languages. She understands perfectly what English is and what Spanish is. She just decides to communicate better by using both. And then she thinks in both languages because she uses Spanish. And it's a very natural process because that actually haunted me when I was a teacher. Because I could see, you have probably seen this, how people, when they learn a new language, they think, translate, speak. Think, translate, speak. Think, translate, speak. How do you solve that? And you can do this with Chinglish, German, Espanol, Portuñol. I was in a Silicon Valley startup for 2 years before I started this project, or before I actually launched this project. And I was presenting in French, in Portuguese, and my Portuguese is far from perfect, but people wouldn't care. Why? Because I was confident. And these kinds of tactics gave me the confidence to not care if I was perfect. And if you don't believe me that confidence is way more important than perfection, let's just watch some videos from Arnold Schwarzenegger in his early days. Let's watch some videos from Salma Hayek to see if she was successful regardless of her not perfect Spanish. And if you still don't believe me, let's take a look at some modern family videos from Modern Family videos, and let's watch Sofia Vergara and her baby Jesus and baby Jesus, right? Okay, so now that's basically two of the tactics that I wanted to introduce to you. So we have step number one, where the key is let's understand who, let's understand you, the hero, and then once that is completed, then we move on to the tactics. But it's not just throwing tactics at people. I'm going to share this tactic with you. You're going to try these two tactics. And the hope is that you'll stay in touch with us via Facebook, email, or whatever you prefer. You can send a pigeon too. And you're going to tell us, hey, Spanish did work for me. It's really working. I'm being able to do, or that's going to happen. That tactic didn't work. And this is where we really begin to customize. We have an arsenal, okay? And in the system, we have a matrix where we think we know which one of the tactics are for which profiles. But regardless, you're always testing. So instead of, hey, here comes my system, just swallow it up, we have a bunch of things that we can just use different profiles and see what really works or not. And then that's really, again, we go back to the question, how effective is your learning time really going to be? This is how we really make it way more effective. Okay, now that we have 2 steps, we have I would say, relative clarity on 2 steps of the system. Let's take a look at the system as a whole and see how that really works. Okay, so we broke this down into 5 steps. We're going to make it keep it as simple as possible. Okay, and can you see? It sounds not very good, right? I know. Yeah, let's take a little right? No.
Oh, yes.
That's better, right?
The darker, the darker.
No, let's just make a quick correction.
Okay, so is it?
And now let's change it. You want to change it? Let's change it. Let's
Yeah.
make them all the same color.
Make it even darker. Sorry, so it's the racism is giving me. With the white writing, yeah. Darker white. Sorry.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Very
Do you want the lights still on or off? Oh,
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That's a lot easier, a lot prettier.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move it to the other place. I want to call corners back.
Can you record it, okay?
I think it's not bad. You can
No,
go
it's
ahead.
actually okay here, and, yeah, I can see the screen.
Can you see me? You just,
You don't stand out as much, but I can maybe see this.
good thing is you cannot approximate that.
As long as I can
Okay.
hear you.
Yeah, exactly. So, the step is broken down, so the system is broken down into 5 steps, where step number 1 is the hero. We've all seen, whether we like it or not, Mario Bros. Not only is part of our lives, but it actually has changed reality as we know it. And there is actually the Super Mario Effect video, which also I can share with you. It's a really cool thing. And so the first step is the hero. Every good story, we all love stories, whether we are going to confess it or not, we all love stories. And the first component of any story is a hero. And why the hero? Because the hero is on a quest. The hero has an emotional quest most of the times. And the third component is that the hero will transform itself. And as we said from the beginning, this has to be, that their end result has to be a transformation. So we have the hero, okay? And you figure out the hero. What's your learning profile? What's your learning style? What's your motivation? Motivation being step number 2 is the princess. So Mario is trying to rescue the princess. We always have something that we want to achieve, something that we're chasing, and that's the princess. You have your princess. Okay, you have to get to her. Then, in order to get to the princess, you need your power-ups, which are your tactics. Okay, not all tactics are going to work with you. If you've ever played any kind of video game, whether casual, intensive, pretty much any kind, you always have a favorite something that really works for you in the video. Doesn't matter, it's a puzzle or anything. So this is where the customized tactics really work in your favor. Now that you have these components, you need to know what the map is. And when we say the map is, where do you want to go and what's the path to get there? Is that a promotion? Is that traveling? Is that interacting with your kids? You know, this happens a lot in Mexico, even families. So this is a really funny phenomenon, and it goes back to the emotional component. So my kids go to school, they're really young, and most of the parents of the kids, my kids' classmates, speak English, some level, some form of English, but they are completely terrified. They're terrified. Confidence. Maybe your goal is to talk to kids. Maybe your goal is to have a language as a common ground to interact with kids. So that's that. And basically, the other component is all the way at the end, because every single time, whether you find the princess, okay, immediately it takes a long time for you to find the princess. One thing that happened in Super Mario, and that was the cool thing about the Super Mario effect, is you keep going. You want to finish the Super Mario games, because you would finish one level and you would get to the castle and there will always be a little room for it. You would find something, you would find a freaking toad that would tell you, I'm sorry, the princess is in another castle, but nobody tell me. Okay, that's a different story. But basically, the point of this is, when you walk out of here, you have to take something with you. when you're learners, when you as a learner are learning, you should not feel like you just took 2 hours and didn't work for anything at all. You should not feel like that. That's not okay. I was actually talking last night, with some really close friends of mine, and also I don't think it should be okay that the system, the approach is allowing people to go for 4 years of college and say, I'm only retaining 5% of what I learned in college. I don't think that should be okay. I don't think it should be okay that you went through a whole week of learning and say, I don't remember much, or 20 years later, it's like, no, nothing, nothing, right? So this is little progress, little chunks of progress every time. Maybe it's just one word, maybe it's just one expression, maybe it's just a little bit of confidence when you run into somebody and say, me siento cansado. Muy cansado. Are you saying that it's, are you tired? No, I wanted to say that I'm cold. But you still said it. You said it wrong, completely wrong. But you said it. You were confident and you said it. And that is life. And through the whole system, through the 5 steps over and over, you must always be building confidence. As a learner, as an educator, you must always consider physicality, like I was mentioning before. Okay? If you need to stand up, stand up. If you want to stretch, stretch. If you want to breathe, breathe. If you want to take something in your hands and smell it, people are going to look at you weird. Do it, because it doesn't matter. Immersion. We're actually coming up, we're designing some immersive experiences where we will actually create bicultural, bilingual environments for people to learn. Extremely effective, 2 hours, and you're out of that, and you're like, oh my God, I just did cross-tracing English. It's amazing. You can do that in Mexico. You can do that here in the US. You can do cross-tracing Spanish, which is not really doing that. And finally, it has to be a multi-sense experience all the way, so that it really becomes an effective thing. Now, like I mentioned repeatedly, I am a family guy, totally not the family guy that there's thing. Please do not associate me to him. Basically, this is when I want to make sure that everybody who goes through the Alejandro method experiences, and these are the promises. This is what we really have to focus on delivering is English or Español applied to real vida. Whatever you're learning, it has to be useful out there. We cannot tell you Susan goes to the market because Susana nunca va al mercado. Susana never goes to the market. Okay? Now, the learning experience has to be customized and it has to adapt to people's lives and make them better. I believe that language by itself is useless. Again, if the motivation is not right, it doesn't make any sense and it's not sustainable. Therefore, language has to be a vehicle to make people confident. And one of the main motivators behind this, people with us, was in Latin America as well as in Asia. This is something that nobody has been willing to accept. You will make more money, have a better job if you know English than if you have a university degree. In most settings, except for cases like some lawyers, some doctors, but in general, just knowing English will put you up a step, a really big step, and that's how you make people's lives better. And finally, the importance of the network, whether that's friends, whether that's family, educators, or other learners. We must always be built and focused on because we are social creatures. Like the brain, which is a social organ, we learn better, we feel better. Actually, just let me be clear, and let me take this opportunity to thank you, chat everybody on the board with the Alejandro method. This workshop, Terry, this would not be possible without the network, without the support network. So it's exactly the same thing when we are learning something or educating into something with the Alejandro method. Basically, that is the system of the Alejandro method. And with that, we just basically, that's the end of the content that I have for you today. I would like us to stay in touch. Now you can ask questions or actually have some thoughts with you if you want. And I don't know, like, we can probably check if we have some questions in the live stream, but please, feel free to share your questions or comments.
Or anything that you want.
Anything you want, yeah, or your Español experiences or.
How did you come about, with the learner profiles and the ID international baccalaureate?
I think they're helpful. I think there are better tools. I personally like really just basically the auditive, kinesthetic, visual, or the reading kind of profiles. But I think it's a good combo. I think basically if you cross it with other tools, it can be very useful.
Did you teach the ID curriculum? Is that where you
No.
practiced that, or where were you exposed to those?
I am like one of those serial entrepreneurs who's like, oh, I really want to do this, and I just basically read a lot. And I take as many quizzes as I can, and my children are in the IB system, so I actually did a lot of research. And I was like, okay, that looks okay. Yeah. But I think it's good, but I feel like most of the things, I think it's better when it's not standalone.
Oh, yes.
Basically, I think that's where I stand in that particular regard.
Just do learning styles, you can't just do.
Exactly. Then if you cross them, then that's where you can get something really simple, which is basically the Alejandro method is just a mix of so many things. You know, actually, just a little bit about the story behind that. How it started out as something that's completely different from what it is today, which was a branding method 5-6 years ago. And we were using it on brands, innovative brands, and video game brands. And I didn't know anything about branding, but it worked. But then it just didn't make a lot of sense in some things. We just started to change it, and it kind of didn't make much sense with me. And that's what we ended up with this. But again, it's a mix of a lot of, there's a lot of branding in this thing. You know that you like branding, what is, how's that even work? Yeah.
You mentioned the link where you send us.
Yes. Actually, I believe, have you by any chance put your emails?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing this with you. And so you can actually go on. Let me fix that too.
Spanish.
Yeah, but now you know hace frío. Tiene sentido.
Recommendations, like, me just learn, and I'm gonna break it down to, like, I said, a small part each day. Where would you go about finding maybe the most used or most productive words to learn?
I could share that list with you. We have something up. So one of the things we did, and it's still in the development stages, is we basically decided not to go with the typical standard levels. And instead of saying, oh, you're basic or you're low level. What we did is, okay, so this is survival. This is basic communication. Okay, this is fluent communication. This is your master. And then basically create a set of words. We actually have a matrix of not only words, but expressions that are going to be survival expressions. And that should basically give you a really good idea to where to start. And basically it's as simple as Googling that and just, basically using the same practice that we saw today is, okay, now remember this. And I have to add something that if you're starting out, one of the most important components is if you learn right now hace frío, or hace sentido, or tiene sentido, and you don't remember it, don't feel bad, consult it again. Because you are not a flash memory. You're not a hard drive. So it's perfectly okay to say, I don't remember that. And instead of punishing yourself for giving you a really bad F, you say, oh, is it there? Do the effort. Hey, brain, can we remember this? No, it's not there. Or, it's there, like you can actually, Shannon, can you tell us what happened
So
yesterday?
so I had a hot sauce yesterday, and I smelled it, and then he had on the screen, he Googled, I'm tired, which is, Estoy cansado. And I didn't remember that yesterday. I kept saying, I wouldn't say I'm not tired, because I convinced myself that I wasn't. But he said, no, estoy cansado, but I kept saying, is story consistent.
Or something like that.
Two words combined, and then this morning I woke up and I just said, no, it's consult, and it just.
I should remember it perfectly.
But I remember, but I was like, what was I trying to remember? And I remembered hot sauce.
I mean, how this
So I had hot sauce, and I'm not tired.
Actually, we had Jennifer with us last night, and she remembered also cansado. She doesn't know any Spanish at all. And she remembered cansado because she was actually studying Play-Doh.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Play-Doh is, just like a lot of these things, it's visual. And I don't know if this happens to me, or, I think it's a little creepy thing, but the smell is phenomenal. I just love the smell of Play-Doh. The other thing is, like, the texture that happens.
Yeah.
With Play-Doh, whether you smash it or just cut it or just tear it. I think this is fantastic business that I really like it for those reasons. And this one in particular that I brought for you today is actually scented. So if you get the regular one, it smells like corn. And this one actually has different scents. This one actually smells like peach. And you basically now can get all of these things. Now there's like a bunch of different Play-Dohs that you can experiment with. I actually have construction Play-Dohs on my desk, where one of them is actually looks like bricks, and another one looks like pavements, and another one looks like rocks. It's really, really cool because it really, again, helps you. That's just a quick story. I studied, my major was in arts. I studied visual arts. I majored in ceramics and lithography, and I have never in my life done anything about it. I actually just always done a business and actually started selling art when I was 19, so I completely lost the track. And then I started a master's in finance. What I'm trying to go here is I never had any background in programming, and I learned to code HTML, and just last 2 years in Silicon Valley, I learned Python, and I also actually learned how to integrate SAP solutions. And I did that. I would literally sit down at night after my daughters went to sleep, and I had my Play-Dohs, and I had coffee. Actually, I use this a lot. Rosemary is really powerful as a memory enhancer, by the way. And I would just have it there, smell it, close it, code, practice, open it up, smell it again, close it, practice, get up, do push-ups or breathe, and then get back. And I was able to get easily an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of focus. But literally using sensory stuff, and the next day I was able to remember the commands and the lines and stuff, and I was able to do a lot of stuff. And people were like, wait, you didn't know this thing like 3 days ago. What's going on? So it works. Whether you're learning, at the end of the day, coding is just a bunch of languages. And everything that we do, whether we're educators, lawyers, I'm actually a court interpreter and a court translator as well. It's a language. Legalese. That's what we call it, legalese. Because it's an entire language. And that's, I don't know, it's just stories that are great. 6 languages. Yes, 6 languages. Yes. Don't ask me about Czech. I completely obliterated that one out of my mind. But yeah, I've taught myself, I would say, 1.5, and German, I'm getting there. Basically.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yes.
You can, American Sign Language.
I am familiar with that one. Yeah.
You would do well with that, I think.
Yeah.
It's an entire different language.
You got the whole thing. That's like a whole different universe. I love that. Yeah, because it's not words. It's just
It's visual.
Yeah.
Where did you go? Or you come?
Yeah, exactly. Especially too. Yeah, exactly. There's also like the lip reading and how you complement what you're doing with lip reading. Yeah, I think it's
I think you would do well with that.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. I have actually thought about it at some point. Yes.
I had courses in teaching English to speakers of other languages, and I learned one thing that it's not confusing to children to teach them 2 languages at once. It's an advantage.
It is, yeah. But a lot of schools, a lot of lines of thought still think that it's not. Like, actually, I was told, well, your daughter will take longer to speak. She's actually, she's actually way more fluent than most of her classmates. You know, now that she's 3, and her vocabulary is also, I would say, considerably more extensive.
I have a question.
Yes.
What was, does anybody remember the phrase that was, it's called?
I think we do.
And you got some, you know, just that, you know what this is, right? Now it's in Spanish.
The top.
And there you go. So you just, you know, you do this, and then you start playing, and it's the thing. I would like to just quickly go back. Then it's a lot of like, yeah, it's a lot about learning how to be ridiculous.
Yeah, what is it? You taught me something. Was it para, a plaza, a cup? What is it?
Plaza?
Plaza?
Plaza.
Plaza.
And then she would, yeah.
And put it on your head, you know what? I didn't know on your head. He's like, then she'll remember it.
And then you're like, oh, hace frío patata. Like, what? What is that? That doesn't make any sense. It helps you remember. There you go. There you go. I have to go patata. And then you start doing Spanish and English. And this is really what really helps you. Just start mixing things up. It's like,
It really, does help because, I'm actually a speech language pathologist and I work with patients with their memory, and that's one of the things we taught, we teach them, is when you try to remember, say, 4 words, you don't, instead of trying to remember the 4 words, you group them.
Right.
So you can say the draft was wearing a dress. Of course, they don't, they look how you remember it. So it's
That's
exactly
all
what.
phone numbers, it's easier to read.
that's really cool that you're mentioning that because a lot of the tactics that we're integrating into this came from, we translated a whole set of medical files from, I actually did the translation for a hospital from the speech therapy department.
Mhm.
And I started reading this and I started translating all of these things and I was like, wait, this is gold. And a lot of the things that I found out in the speech therapy, of course, you know, not an expert, but it's like, this is really intuitive. And also, like, there's very few people really using it for language, like, other than speech therapy. And the other thing that I noticed is as I was going through these techniques, I was like, wait, so that's how my daughter is doing this. This is how my daughter is doing that. And she does not have a speaking language, but she's still using these naturally.
Right.
You know, and so basically there's a lot of inspiration from that too.
One thing I want to say too, to your point, in speech language pathology, there's the whole, chicken versus the chicken and the egg thing. And we say what came first, cognition or language. You have language or cognition, you have cognition, have language, and there's thoughts. But one of the thoughts of how to learn language is all children produce all the different sounds in the world, but we only reinforce the sounds that are in our language.
That's right.
So, if our child says, I'm not going to go to reinforce it that much. We don't have as much in English, but that was probably me. I was seeing, I used to see children in my practice, and this little boy I was seeing, I was just teaching him English. The mother was Belgian. The agreement was mom would speak French to the boys, dad would speak English. Well, apparently dad wasn't speaking English. So I was just teaching this little boy English. I'm just learning. I say, you know, ball and cup and shoe, and I had toys and so forth. And he would say them in English. And then when I saw him at the daycare, one time I saw him at his home. And I'm on the floor playing with him, and I'm saying book and dog and cat. And his mom says, man, he just answered you in French. He just said this to you in French, or he just said this over here to you in French. And it made me feel bad because I don't speak any French, so I didn't even realize he'd said anything. So I didn't even force his French. And I thought, you know what, if he came home and lived with me, his French would go away because I wouldn't reinforce it. Not being clever, but and then it would just be straight English. But the other thing is, children don't ask why. If my mom says shoot, my dad says the potato, and I'm 3 and I go with it. I say this to him and that to her. But an adult be like, no, wait a minute, why did you say him? And so we stop and ask why, and think that impedes us.
Yes.
Yep. So yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't expect the conversation to go this way, but actually, yeah, you probably picked it up. And a lot of the other tactics really are taking a lot from neuroscience, which I basically got from trying to understand creativity and how creativity works, and then also a lot of speech pathology therapy. You know, like probably not saying it right, but you basically got a lot from that because I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. Again, I think this could definitely, this should be used in other fields, in other settings. And yeah, that's a lot of where this comes from as well. And a lot of the concern of, hey, it just really could not live, actually stop teaching. My frustration was just grew so much that I actually stopped teaching. Because I could not live with the fact that my students were not making progress. I just could not live with that. And then at some point, just people kept asking me, just so that you know, I have never in my life lived in an English-speaking country. I have never studied English formally, and I have never studied any academic degree in English in my life. And just people kind of knew that, and they just come to me and say, "Hey, how did you learn your English?" And I'm like, "What big deal, really, man? Video games and books and movies, and that's what I did." And I'm like, "How's wrong with you?" And then that's when I said, "Oh, let's answer those questions." People just ask them so many times that I decided to answer the question. This is how I learned my English. Let me share it with you. Yeah, we're here now. Yeah. So thank you so much. I really hope you stay in touch. I'm going to share this with you. And basically, the next step is going to be we're going to do a follow-up because we would like to see whether these two tactics stuck. You know if they worked, and if you want to hear more tactics, then we can probably go over those. We're going to do an online session 1 month from now, so we're going to be also inviting as well. And then from there, we can probably just start thinking about a way more structured program where this can be something that runs in parallel with other programs so that we can really help people accelerate their language learning experiences. And with that said, thank you so much for your attention on a Friday night. Thank you for being here infinitely, guys, over on the live stream also. It means the world to me and to everyone on the board also because it's been a joint effort. It's definitely not just me running this thing, and thank you so much. And now I'm going to be here to answer your questions and help you in another way I can. And enjoy the snacks. Well, I brought some Mexican tamarind candy. We got water. We got some emeralds as well. And you can help yourself as well.
Can you say what's like your page and where it is?
Yes. So please, you can find us on Facebook as the Alejandro Method. You can find the website, thealejandromethod.com. We're basically posting a lot of content. The goal is to start posting a lot of these, the science behind, the tactic, and what's happening with this and what's happening with that. A lot of the content that should help. We already have a podcast, which is a little bit of a bilingual podcast where we explain and we talk about incendiary topics. I am horribly provocative, so you will definitely find some stuff that is definitely going to make some people angry out there. It's already made some people angry. And so that's where you can find us. The podcast, on the website, you're going to find everything. And of course, we're going to stay in touch with you with the email that you shared with us. Also, I hope you can leave your emails on the chat area on the live broadcast as well. And thank you so much.
The Spanglish really reminds me of the stuff like you see on Facebook where you can read this, only certain people can read it. You get it, but it's just.
Your brain's still on it.
Yeah.
I tell my patients that, see, the brain does that, I mean, they just like, this man was talking to me the other day, and he said to his wife something, and I didn't understand what he said, it wasn't important enough for me to what he said. And then he said, you really like lasagna. I don't know if he said, I like it. It's in the video.
That closed test is like, reading proficiency of the words and
That's the idea when you travel, it's like the longer we stay in a place, the more your language starts to, it's just, we're giant in the same way. Language starts getting back in. You're hearing it so often.
And I think part of it is confidence. Like, I just find not being confident, having to like hear it, translate it, say it, and that lag is too long. And so I'm just comfortable
sort of learning profiles, and learning styles and other things, and helping middle schoolers really, I was starting middle school and high school, learning who they are as a learner is going to open up the doors for your learning. Everything. And so sitting here listening to that was like, oh my gosh, it's hard to ever have a conversation about that with the average educator. When I came back to the US, I taught in international schools. I told you, nobody wanted me in school. I took positions that, well, but they just didn't like, how I communicate with the students, that I'm connecting, helping them reward you as a learner. They didn't like it at all, because we have to be a factory and come out of the way to do this, and we're going to over-assess them, and we're going to, and I'm not that.
Yeah.
But I tried learning about 2 languages. I lived in Africa and I've been on that for several countries for about 12 years or more. I learned Chichewa, and I was telling Jerry, I said, where did it go?
And so how long were you practicing that language? Were you actually?
I was immersed in Chichewa and English, because it was one language, but for 7 years.
Wow.
So I studied it for over a year, working and being very much immersed. And it was kind of at the end of that year that I was sitting in something, and someone was speaking in Nyanja, which is a form of Chichewa, and I was like, I think I understood what he just said.
Yes.
But it was a year, and I was fully immersed. You could not get more immersed than living in remote areas.
Yeah.
Right. And now I don't have it. Like very little of it. People say hello to me in Spanish, and I'll be like, yeah.
So do you think that like if you start to hear something else, and then will that Chichewa will come back, and like you maybe hear something in Spanish or other language, and then that comes back all of the phrases in there?
Very few things.
I think German trigger her Chinese.
Weird.
It was weird.
Well,
There's-
that's when I first came back.
Yeah.
There were some things that would trigger.
Where's Chichewa? Where's Chichewa?
It was in Mali and dialect of it in the others in Zambia.
Okay. I was wondering, you were saying that about German, and you speak French and you learn German, English, of course. So you can probably pick up Afrikaans pretty good.
I can understand the difference in there.
Probably.
I bet you could. It's
I'm very,
kind of a mix of all.
And that's West African.
That
That's
sounds
South
like-
Africa. So Afrikaans is the more than Afrikaans.
If you ever read something in Afrikaans, you can pick up so many words.
yeah,
You know, oh yeah, that's on my cancer, that's on my, yeah, it's interesting.
yeah, that's also a cool thing, because once you're like, when I learned Czech, because I ended up in the Czech Republic. Well,
You just happen to.
something like that, yeah. It was just, somebody gave me a job, and they took it back. I was stuck in Boston. I was like, oh, thank you very much. What am I going to do? And I started traveling around, and I got to the Czech Republic, because a friend of mine had been there. And I went there to volunteer to help with the floods. So we had just right after the floods, back in 2003. And I was volunteering there, and I was like, hey, why don't I take this course? And then I took the course, and they rejected me 4 times. And I said, just listen to me, okay? Listen to me, and then you're going to take me in. And they listened to me, and they took me. It was very scary. And so I learned Czech, and everybody said, you're not going to learn Czech. And I'm like, come on. I mean, there are children learning Czech. Anybody can teach. Anyway, so I learned it. It was obviously not good. But then I realized it was super close to Russian and to Polish. And I actually ended up like kind of picking up a lot from all of those languages. But now it's completely gone. Like I actually listened to some Czech movies, and I'm like, well, I kind of get the gist of it. And I was fluent in 2-3 months. And then I just came back like 6 months after. I just needed it. And I kind of used the same method that I've used all my life, which is books, music, video games, anything I can get my hands on in a very structured way. Which is weird because I'm not structured at all. But it worked. Yeah. The kind of same thing happens with, German. I don't know much German, but I can pick up on Dutch and a little bit on Flemish as well, and a little bit, things here and there on Danish, things like that, because they're not really that far apart.
English is pretty German, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because we're gonna get into the whole, like, stuff. Yeah, that's gonna get intense. I'm gonna close this. Well, we still have two people. Yeah, yeah.
The names will be able to say.
I think the road's gonna be telling me that we weren't able to connect. So, you know, we'll still have to see we're gonna get. Did you get everything else there?
I don't see it. I was trying to get their names that may have the
I
other
took a screenshot already.
Oh, you did for all of them? Ashley, Nathan, Darius.
There's Tina, Ashley,
Okay, let's just use
Ethan. Yes, Sarah.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.
Thank you. Stay in touch.
Oh, yeah.